ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שהכל נהיה בדברו. I've been listening lately to some interviews of José Mujica. Pepe Mujica, as he's known. He's a former president of Uruguay. He was a communist in his youth, and he was a guerrilla. He's a socialist, and he was president of Uruguay. What's so special about Pepe Mujica? Well, he is a socialist of a certain kind. He believes in free enterprise. He doesn't say that everybody should have the same salary. It depends what you do. If you work harder, you should be remunerated differently. But personally, he lives a very austere life. When he was president, he didn't have any bodyguards, cars following. He used his own car as always. He mixes with the people. Hello, how are you? Everybody knows him like an elderly father. A very kind man, Pepe Mujica. And he lives in a very small farm. That's where he lives, and that's it. And when you speak to him, he says, actually, when you acquire things, you know, whatever it is, you become enslaved to it. So this pursuit for more and more goods, for more and more things, actually limits your freedom of action. It says you become a slave to them. You buy a new car, you have to insure it, you have to repair it, you have two cars. If you have new furniture, you have to watch it, you need somebody to clean it. The less you have, the better off you have. You are in this world, because then you are free to do other things. What other things? Maybe art, maybe music, maybe speaking to people, traveling, knowing the world a little better. Time for yourself to reflect, to think. But if you have too many things, he says, you become a slave to these things. Many young people like this message. You know, they can identify with it. Maybe because they don't have the possibility yet to acquire so many things. But in general, you know, it's something pristine. It seems genuine, like a return to nature. And it's very refreshing out of a man that has had power also. He has seen so many things in this world, and yet he has come to this conclusion. Well, it reminded me of an episode in the Bible. The Torah says that when our ancestors reached the land of Israel, God told Moses, send 12 spies to see what the land is like. So 12 princes of the Jewish people, ahead of each tribe, went to explore the land. Then there were two opinions, the majority report and a minority report. The minority of Caleb and Yehoshua, they said, we can conquer this land, there's no question about it. But the majority said something else. You know, we saw cities that are fortified. We saw people that are giants. This will be very difficult. They said, Eretz ochelet et yoshvea. This is a land that eats up its inhabitants. You know, as if it's impossible to conquer it. Why the difference of opinion? You know, you can't say that these 10 people were traitors. They were afraid to conquer the land of Israel. They didn't believe that God is going to facilitate their action. If God says, go, I'm taking you to the promised land, he's going to deliver the promised land. Did they have such a weak type of faith in God? No, these were special people. They were righteous people. So some say the following. You know what they were really saying? Here in the desert, bread comes from heaven, manna falls every day. That's what we eat. We don't have to work. We have time to come closer to God. We have time to think. We have time to speak to our spouses. We have time to study the Torah that God just gave us. But if you'll go into the land of Israel, we'll have to become farmers. We'll have to become cattlemen. We'll have to build cities. We'll have to watch over all these things. We'll have to defend. We won't have time to do the things that we really want. We won't be close to God. Actually, this land is going to eat us up. Eretz ochelet et yoshvea. All the things that we have to do in the land are going to take away our time. We won't have time to do anything. So what are we to do? Are we to think like Pepe Mujica? who says that when you acquire too many things, you have no time for yourself or the important thing? Or are we going to be with the materialistic world in which we live today? The more you have, the more you are. The bigger your car, the more important you are. What are we to do? Maybe, like in many things, we should look at middle of the road. We should go, excesses are no good. Too much materialism is no good. On the other hand, if you abstain from anything material, that is no good either. Look for a middle of the way, because it depends what you do with things. Some things lead according to the usage that you give it. You can have a cell phone, and all you do all day long is you're writing messages to one another. Even I've seen in a restaurant, 4 people, a family of 4 people, each one with his phone, with a smartphone on the table, each one typing, instead of talking among themselves. Or the cell phone can also be a very important item. You're lost, you have a flat tire, and you have how to communicate with others. It depends what you do with these things. After all, material things should be used for another purpose. So maybe we should look for a middle of the road. But I think what Pepe Mujica said, and what we can learn from our ancestors also, is that when there is too much emphasis on the material things, you become really estranged from God. You become estranged from your family. You become estranged from society. Look for a middle of the road. I think it's the best.